Howdy.
Hey, everybody.
I'm just going to move this frame over a little. I don't like it. Oh, that's better. I don't mean to be so picky, guys.
Yeah, she does. She's a techie and she can't help herself. And she's ruined me. I'm just telling you. Pastor Dawn and I, were watching a movie.
Oh, no.
What was it? Troy last night.
Oh,
And
dirt.
if you've ever seen that movie, it's like 2.5 hours long. It's a very long movie. We're watching, and I'm like, oh, there's a frame. Oh, look at this.
There's
Oh, and they do this.
continuities.
And what if this? She's ruined me because I can't watch a movie without seeing all the things now. And I see them, and I didn't realize that I see them until all of a sudden it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they did that part wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't very good. Oh, movie mistake,
I love it. It's actually, I've had to stop watching certain things because I see. So
Yeah.
you know what a continuity issue is.
Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday we were watching Speed. I love Keanu
I bet
Reeves.
you there's lots of content.
Oh, it's bad. Okay, first off, would you be driving through? Okay, you have to go 50 miles an hour. I know the Americans know what that is, but in kilometers, that is
60, isn't it?
no, because 60 miles per hour is 100 km, so it's about 85 kilometers an hour. That's about right.
Okay, sure.
Actually, no, I think 55 miles per hour is 100. Because 60.
Either way,
Anyway, it's like 80k an hour. Between 80 and 90k an hour. And yeah, I know the math, but I can't do it on air, of course, because, well, that's not my gift, is math. I can do anything in base 6, which is time, right down to the frame. Anyhow, there are so many continuities issues, but the biggest thing, would you be driving everywhere and not honking the horn? You're ripping through all these roads, pushing through people, everything like that, okay? And you don't honk the horn once? Well, Nathan and I'm like, Nathan, if I was in that situation and you were there, I'd be like, can you tape the horn down?
Yeah, I
Just
get
have
that.
it on blare, right? Because there's some crazy. And then to jump the 50-foot gap. And then I realized that the movie is far too long.
Yeah.
They should have ended it, I think, at the subway. Yeah, it would have been this, like, and then to think I actually enjoyed number 2. I know Pastor Gigi likes
I like
Matrix.
Speed. I love Speed, and I like Speed 2 because I also like Keanu Reeves a lot.
See, we just realized, I didn't realize you were a Keanu Reeves.
I love Keanu Reeves. Listen, you guys, though, if you've seen Troy, I'm going to throw one movie mistake out to you guys because it still sticks in my craw. There's a scene where Achilles, the main guy, Brad Pitt, is fighting Hector, Prince Hector, who is Eric Bana. Anyway, they're fighting, and they kind of do a shot up where you see the sky. Oh, you see an airplane go. Because that's the way it was.
Oh, yeah, back then they had airplanes.
Achilles and Eric Bana. Sorry. Can you imagine, just throwing that out there? Just take a little look. It's not abrasive, and it's not something that you even notice, because I didn't notice it for the longest time until I started hanging hanging around with this girl, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things.
Yeah, it's because, and that's something that you learn in television, is how to see what we call as a single frame or a single piece of film. In old theater, like back when there was still film, it's 35 pieces of film goes past that lens a second to make the motion.
It's crazy
right?
sauce.
So you think if you're doing cartoons, for example, back in the old times, 35, because they were shooting in film.
Yeah, and that's only to just go.
Yeah, that's just to go 1 second.
One little move.
They actually got smart and used gel.
Yeah, that's
how smart. Disney got it. And yes, I give you guys these little tricks because we're continuing on with the really important. I'm saying this all right to our stuff for a reason.
Yeah.
God gives us things in ways that are important. And yeah, Pastor Gigi and I are good friends because, well, we understand that each other needs to talk a little, and observing is a big part of
Yeah, that's a big
life.
thing for
And
me.
and for Pastor Gigi to go on about the things that she can see in a movie, that makes me smile inside. My little Timothy in her in the world of editing and television. It's like, yeah, I did that.
I will be honest with you guys. Because of that, this is what I do a lot. You know, I do stuff on my phone and watch it,
Yeah,
or just listen, because I can't turn my mind off now when I'm watching some of
yeah,
the movies that I loved years before. And I mean, I still love it, but it's just like, you're like,
I know.
no.
There's a couple. One of my favorite ones is Goonies as I roll on to the next part. Goonies is a good part, but in the beginning of the movie, if you watch the kids go up into the attic, and it goes from the scene downstairs to the scene up in the attic,
Mm-hmm.
if you watch how the stairs change, is actually very poorly matched.
Mm-hmm.
That's a continuity error.
Mm-hmm. It's really difficult when you
Yeah,
can see stuff like
yeah,
that to enjoy something. It's like, as a pastor, and you're watching somebody and you know that they're doing something that's going to end up, well, hurting them,
mm-hmm.
really and truly. As a pastor, it's like, I can see, it's like, I don't want to say that I can always see the outcome, because
No,
I can't, but it's like, you're watching somebody doing something, and you're like, dude, later on down there, you're not going to be happy that you're doing this over
yeah,
here.
yeah,
But you can't really say anything, and all you can do is pray. But I mean, prayer is the best part of everything.
mm-hmm.
So if you at least can pray for somebody, maybe what they're doing here, and it's going to hurt them over here,
Yeah,
maybe it won't hurt as bad
mm-hmm.
because you've prayed for them over
Yeah.
here.
And that's how sometimes when you can't control a situation with mental health,
Mm-hmm.
you can't control a situation. For me, my spirituality and my God-based life now, everything
Mm-hmm.
I do, I pray, I worship, everything
Mm-hmm.
I do is based around my love for God because he loves me. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a time where my skills were what got me through it.
Yeah.
And when I dealt with addiction, because as we roll into what we're talking about today,
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Gigi and I are not, I was going to say, we're not scientists or archaeologists.
Thank God.
It's just one of those days, guys. I have some weird, no,
Yeah.
we're not doctors or counselors.
Yes.
Pastor Gigi has her pastoral education. There are
Mm-hmm.
elements of counseling in there, but that's spiritual basis. I
Mm-hmm.
understand it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, well, my walk in life and my, I guess, need to go to all these different courses to overcome my different labels. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to say that our diagnoses are forever because I believe God heals us.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's just a label to help the doctors get you the help you need,
Mm-hmm.
get you the medication you need, get you the support you need,
Mm-hmm.
get you on your feet,
Yeah.
help you adapt your behavior
Yeah.
so you can move forward.
And those labels, for instance, can help you later on in life. Like, for instance, myself, I have been labeled with high functioning anxiety, but I don't feel that I necessarily live in that, but I also can see where parts are coming into my life. So
Mm-hmm.
then I can pray about it and say,
Yeah.
God, I don't want to live in that
Yeah.
place. I don't want to experience that. So help me through that kind of thing.
Yes.
That's how I deal with things. And I mean, sometimes, in all honesty, we do go through and have like mental health times that where you just need to have a day, you
Yeah.
just need to have a couple of days, or you need a week or something. Like, sometimes you just need that, and that is okay. I don't
It,
think that there's anything wrong with that.
no, and that's what Pastor Gigi, as you guys know, it's taken us a bit to get through this. We are now in what, A, B, C, D. No, we're in the fourth part,
We're in the
fifth
fifth part
part
of
of
this.
this particular piece.
Yeah.
Because A, there's a lot of skills we're trying to teach you, but B, real life had to make us stop.
Yeah.
And it's something that, even though both of us pine over the fact that we don't get to come and do our live with you guys,
Mm-hmm.
we understand
Mm-hmm.
and often encourage each other.
Yeah.
Because in the world of mental health, and I'm sure all of you guys experience this, when you deal with mental health on a day-to-day basis and you know that you have the traits or you're having a flare-up, it often takes someone who loves you or cares for you or is in your support system, like your counselor or your therapist, that goes, you're having a hard day, maybe you should just go home and stop.
Yeah.
sometimes you do need someone to go, no, 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 no.
Yep.
You're just walking into walls. Go home.
Yeah.
Go home.
For me, for instance, because you guys know I've mentioned this before that I've been diagnosed with MS, that's a label. And I try not to live in that, of course. But on the other side of things, we had a very difficult week. This past week, we had to put our 15-year-old puppy down, and that was very difficult. I may cry at any time in this video, but know that part of that is because I'm grieving. But yesterday, like this happened on Tuesday that we had to deal with this. And then yesterday, being Wednesday, I was supposed to go back to work. And I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with vertigo. So that is something that I deal with in MS. And it's just a symptom, and I understand that. And I try not to let it, take root, so to speak. And so yesterday was a very difficult day for me. And my husband even stayed home from work to take care of me because I don't know if you've ever had vertigo. It's not a fun thing because it's just a constant spinning and you feel like throwing up all the time. And sometimes you do throw up. Sometimes you don't. Luckily I didn't have to throw up, but I literally did not leave my bed except to like pee.
Yeah, bathroom breaks, you can't stay in there. You have no choice.
Yeah.
Kind of got to get out, right?
But then my husband was right there with me to help me walk because I was staggering all over the place. And I think that that was really, in one sense, that was my brain needing to shut down. I needed to shut down. I needed the break. And so I'm the type of person that is like, and you guys may be this type of person too, that is like, once you've committed to something, you will go to your detriment.
Yes.
And that's how I am. And sometimes I believe that it's through the grace of God that even though I had vertigo and it was a horrible, yucky feeling, I believe that God allowed that so that I could take a break because I won't. I will push myself till I'm dead. That's how I am.
Yep.
And I think that that's often the times, that's often how people with mental health issues are. They want so desperately to please and to be good employees or good people or whatever that they will push themselves to their own detriment. And that's not always healthy. And sometimes you just need to take the time.
You just do. And really, and that's the stigma. Like, in Canada, and this is something that I had to deal with, and it wasn't because they were gonna hurt me over it, as in hold it against me, but I wasn't open when I first started having my mental health issues in the company I was working with. I didn't let them actually know what was going on. I just went to the doctor because I didn't have to. And yes, I didn't have to. And in the end, I didn't get to even say bye to anybody. I tried to return to work a number of times. And in the end, the doctor's like, no, 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 no. You're now on what we call permanent disability. I had gone through short term, long term. I was in long term disability for 3 years before they put me on permanent disability. And that isn't even under government funding. That was under where my work was. But eventually I was able to return to work, guys. I still am on permanent disability, but I've returned to work. And due to physical issues, now I can't work. But I put my time into ministry, and it's awesome because it gives me time to be with the Lord, but it also allows me to give time to you guys and spend time with the church and work on myself.
It fulfills that part of our mental health, so to speak, that says that we need to do something. Because if you just sat there by yourself in a house all the time, that would be really lonely. And I know you guys understand what that is because we just finished having this most disgusting lockdown that we had not that long ago.
Yeah, everybody was affected by that.
And in that, like we had mentioned before, how physical touch is so important, even if it's just a, hey, I care about you, that kind of thing. We need to have that because that's a human need. It's a requirement. And so when we went through lockdown, that was really crappy. So allowing Mandy to be able to have the ability to go out and do stuff for the Lord gives her more purpose. Just like for you, if you're stuck doing something, say for instance, and I know that we have a trigger warning in here, and I know that we're kind of getting into a little bit further than what we would usually do. But
We're going to bring it around.
We will bring it
We'll
around.
bring it around.
But I'm just telling you guys that, you know, if you're a person that is like a shut-in or a person that doesn't like to get out or doesn't do well going out, then try some online things. There's always all kinds of online things. Try coloring, because I'm telling you, coloring can make a huge
Mandalas.
impact.
The
Yes.
mandalas. That's my biggest thing. I also like it's this new kind of diamond painting, it's called, the 3D diamonds. Like, yeah, I've done some big ones and I still have many to do, but there was something in the time that I needed it that was very helpful. Of course, I don't have the time now, which is unfortunate, because the outcome's beautiful. But the mindfulness that you put into that. If you love to read a book, guys, choose a book. Make sure that you're feeding your eye gates healthy food.
For sure.
Because sometimes if you're in a wrong state of mind, you could feed yourself into a negative spiral.
True.
There were times where I'm a huge MMA fighter. I love UFC. But that was because I had an anger aspect to me that I couldn't tap because I didn't want to hurt anybody. So I'd actually watch these guys fight until one day I watched a certain fight, which I'm not going to go into because, well, you all know the fight. I'm Canadian. But anyway, I watched the guy go the whole 5 rounds, and he should have tapped like the first 45 seconds in the first round. And he actually put himself through that. And I thought, yeah, they're doing it for sport, but all of a sudden I didn't need that anymore. I went through years of I wouldn't miss a fight. I'd find somebody that had the life, and it gave me a reason to get out, though.
I'll be honest, Pastor Don and I used to rent all the time the MMA and stuff like that. We used to rent the season blah 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 or whatever 13 or fight UFC fight 13 or whatever. You know, Tank Adams, name dropping.
Yeah.
He was like one of my favorites, and Ken Shamrock and stuff. Okay,
Yeah,
we're not going to go into
We're not
that.
going to go. I did really good, guys, because I just said I was Canadian.
I name dropped.
I know, she name dropped, but really, UFC was a way to tap that stuff. Why are we going here? Well, we need to pray. We're not counselors or doctors, really. We're not scientists or archaeologists. But anyway.
We're going to pray. And just before I start praying, I'm just going to say that those of you that are catching us on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe to our channel, because we would love to have you as part of our family there. We would love that so much. So if you want to, like and subscribe, or even just like the video, that's fine too. But, you know, it makes a difference, I think. And this past week, I actually spoke to a number of people that they haven't quite subscribed to our channel yet, but that's okay. But they're really enjoying what we're doing. So anyway, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to get started, because boy, can Mandy and I talk.
Yeah, and it all comes around. I promise you, I will bring you around to it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lord, we just want to say thank you for what you're going to do through us and in us today, and we just worship you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so I'm going to just get right into this so that Mandy can get right into the stuff that she's going to be talking about. Now, remember, we're dealing with the teaching of winning the war in your mind. I had to think. All of a sudden, it just went right out of my head.
Hey, winning that war, hey?
Yeah, woo!
She captured it, though. She won.
Yeah, we're doing a teaching called Winning the War in Your Mind. And today's specific thing that we're going to be talking about, I'm just going to go down to make sure that I have, it's the reframe principle. And I just want you guys to know that, yes, we're taking a Christian spin on it. But also, I happen to look this up, and I'm just going to pull it up here. This is in many, many different teachings in the secular side, so to speak, or the technical side, if you're looking at it in like a mental health capacity.
Oh, clinical is the
word. Clinical, that's the word. Thank you.
No problem.
So there's like, I'm just showing Mandy right now as we're looking through. Look at all these different places that teach this exact principle, and they even name it reframe. Am I right?
Yes.
So many. So just know that just because we're teaching it in a Christian side of things and we're trying to explain it on the biblical side of things, doesn't mean that it's not something that has already begun or has already been taught in the clinical side of things, so to speak, okay? So just track with us as we go here.
Yes.
I'm going to give you the spiritual side of the reframe, and Mandy's going to give you the technical side of the reframe. Okay, so here we go. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you frame it. Mandy says this all the time. So if you've been listening to us, you will have remembered her saying that. You can't always control what happens, but you can control what you do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same idea right there. So the GOAT, GOAT, greatest of all time, that's an anagram for that, of reframing, was the Apostle Paul, okay? Paul had a strategic plan for advancing the gospel. Go to Rome. That was his thing, okay? If he could get to Rome and preach Jesus to the leaders there, the city could become a launch pad to spread the gospel all over the world. When Paul finally got to Rome, it was not to share Jesus with government officials. He went there as a prisoner. Okay, so if you've read anything about Paul, Paul definitely was imprisoned so many times, but yet God got him out of all of these things because he didn't like hold on to that sadness that most people would say, like, oh, woe was me, I'm in prison. No, he totally took it a different way, and God always delivered him from these things. Okay, he was locked up under house arrest, chained to a rotating contingent of guards awaiting a possible execution. Paul prayed for an opportunity, but it was not happening. Paul's circumstances were out of his control. Circumstances are almost always out of our control. You've been where Paul was. You thought, if I just get this degree, I will get that job. I can tell you right now that that is not always the case. My daughter went to university in Edmonton, and she is not even working in her degree program. She's actually working someplace else because she can't get into her degree program because her degree program was in the medical area and they did a freeze during COVID and she had just finished and she didn't get in. And so now there's a lot of stuff that goes on. So now you have to rewire your own brain from what you were thinking. Like, at least that's what she says. I have to rewire because I've been thinking this way my whole life, and now I have to start thinking this way for right now. If God drops the other thing in, awesome. If not, that's awesome too. We always have to have that other plan of attack, so to speak, right? So you planned on being married by now, but you have not found Mr. or Mrs. Right. Or you did find and marry the right person, but everything went wrong. This is not the way life was supposed to go. You've been praying for years for your prodigal child, but God has not answered that prayer. It's kind of an interesting thing. So you're going to have to listen to this because it gives you so much more. Paul was in that same situation, circumstances he did not want and could not control. He wrote to the church of Philippi about what was happening to him. What might he have said? He could have written, "Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me really sucks. I wanted to spread the good news through preaching to the government officials, but that did not happen. As a result of this, hell I've been through, I have decided prayer doesn't work, and I am never going back to church again." Did I sound like a 5-year-old there?
Yeah, it's about right.
Because if we take that path in ourselves, because crappy things happen, let's just face it, that's just the way that it is. But if we're going to sit in that, oh, I always wanted to do this, but now I can't, then that's not going to help you.
No.
All that does is just make your sadness even greater.
Well, and make everything that might already be difficult. It's easy to compound things when you're dealing with mental health, and this is how it compounds really quick. That's taking on unnecessary chaos, essentially, or drama.
Exactly. And we do tend to do that, whether you have mental health issues or not. You tend to do that, okay? So that is on the, if you're going to look at a normal scale, that's on the normal scale of things that we do tend to do that. But taking it further is where the rubber hits the road here, okay? So it says, but that is not what Paul wrote. Could have been, but no. Remember, Paul couldn't control what happened to him,
Mhm.
but he could control how he framed it. Here's what he actually wrote to the Philippians, okay? He says, I want you to know, my dear brothers and sisters, that everything that has happened to me here has helped to spread the good news. For everyone here, including the whole palace guard, knows that I am in chains because of Christ. And because of my imprisonment, most of the believers here have gained confidence and boldly speak God's message without fear. And that comes from Philippians 1:12-14. And that's in the New Living Translation, which happens to be her favorite. Paul was saying, I had a plan, but God had a better plan. This is a whole different way to advance the gospel than what I was thinking. So obviously, God blessed him even in prison. I'm not going to fully complete what is written there, but I am going to say this. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you frame it. That's why the third tool to change your thinking is the reframe principle. Reframe your mind, restore your perspective. This is exactly the parts that I'm talking about. And anybody who understands, while Mandy's getting herself ready with the clinical side of things, anybody who has ever read about Paul, like I said, Paul was in prison so many times. So many times, but he always turned things around so that he didn't look at the negative, but he tried to look at the positive. Those are the things that we need to do in order for us to reframe our mind. Look at the positive way of things, because looking at the negative, you'll just continue. Like if you're already living in depression and you continue to look at the negative, you're just gonna just build that depression bubble, so to speak, into like something that's just gonna burst, and who knows.
Well, and the enemy, as Pastor Gigi and I know, and those of you that are spiritual, the enemy works in really mean ways. He takes those thoughts and turns them around, and he actually flushes the toilet in your brain when it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And without the spiritual aspect, it's that irrational thinking.
Yeah.
And that's why we're teaching. We've been working on the what skills.
Yeah.
And they're the core mindfulness skills in the DBT program. Up until now, we've done the first two. I'm going to quickly review certain things and give you an exercise to kind of see if you've been working on it. Because
I'll let Mandy do that. I got to slip out
she's
and blow
got
my nose.
Oh, that is a wet one.
It's a sad day for me.
So in all of this, we're trying to build these skills so that we can reframe, right? Every time we kind of been, up until now, we've just kind of been looking at it. We've kind of been labeling it and making facts and not judging it. Why? How does this reframe? Well, by being open-minded in all these steps up to, until where the reframe is, which is the participation. Really, there is a reframe skill in DBT, which I can't think of off the top. Well, I guess it would be reframing or other thoughts or push away. Like to reframe in the DBT world, you need to use multiple skills because generally your brain is in overdrive. So generally you have to start at what we call the crisis mode. So breathe. Now you gotta pick a skill to use. Okay, well, observing skills are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See, hear, feel. Okay, the reason why I used that skill is it kept me in the moment and it helped me not dissociate into another personality.
Right.
How does that work with the what skills? Okay, the reason why I'm working on the what skills up until now is in order to reframe, you got to calm your mind. You got to eliminate the irrational thought. You got to give yourself time to observe it so that you can calm yourself down. How do you want to reframe a situation if you don't really know what's going on? So up until now, we've done the observing. Observing is the first step. Remember, when you're observing, it's just sensing or experiencing without describing or labeling the experience. It's noticing or attending to something. The benefit of this practice is that the mind becomes quiet. Remember? Making that space. Just notice that experience. Notice without getting caught in the experience. Experience without reacting to that experience. And then Remember, we brought in the concept of having a Teflon mind.
Mm-hmm.
Letting the experience, feelings, and thoughts come into your mind, but then they slip out. We're in. Another part of observing is you control your attention, but not what you see.
Right.
Because you're just observing it. We're not even at description. We're not even at participating. We're not even at reframing.
Mm-hmm.
Control your attention, but not what you see. Push away nothing and cling to nothing. Be like a guard at a palace gate.
Interesting.
Alert to every thought, feeling, and action that comes through the gate of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I always do this. Didn't need that page. I like it. It's because I marked it, guys. Remember all the other ones? I was like doing a million flips. Well, that's because I got stuck getting ready. This time I got a little bit more.
A little closer.
Just a little closer. Right when we're done. That's kind of how I roll. Some of the exercises that we use is for practicing observing. The big one I like to use is it because it works on obvious things. The big one was experience one hand on a cool surface or a table or a chair, and the other hand on a warm surface, part of your body. Observe it. Just observe it. Okay, now hold that thought. Here we go. We're going to go to describing. Okay, so now we've made that mental space. You quieted yourself. You just looked at the situation. Okay? Now we're going to describe it. Describing is putting the words on the experience. When a feeling or thought arises or you do something, acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
Put your experience into words. Describe to yourself what is happening. Put a name on your feelings. Good doesn't work, guys. I feel excited.
Mm-hmm.
I feel crushed.
Mm-hmm.
Sad doesn't work. Crushed, disappointment.
Yeah.
It's really
Fine
important.
doesn't work either.
Fine doesn't work. And actually, angry doesn't work in my world because angry is a secondary emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Until you can label all the other things, anger is just kind of, I'm getting out of the situation because this is where I'm at. Well, okay. Well, the reason you're there is because you had other emotions.
Yeah, so look at those things. Like she's saying, judge them. Look at them.
No judgment.
No judgment.
But look at them.
Yeah.
Label them.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Label.
Call a thought just a thought, a feeling just a feeling, and don't get caught in the content.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't judge it. You don't go, that's orange. Oh, that's my favorite color. Oh, that happens to be my favorite flavor, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love you, Pastor G.
Yeah, she just throws that out because that's where I get caught always.
Yeah.
So, ooh, my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a little part I had to do. Sorry. It was really, really good. Oh, yeah, right here. Okay. And it's the key part before I go into the exercise part that we worked on. I'm doing pretty good here. I'm going fast. Describing is using words to represent what you observe. Describing is just the facts. Judging is labeling something in an evaluative way.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to apply names to behavioral and environmental events is essential for both communication and self-control.
Mm-hmm.
Learning to describe requires that you learn not to take your emotions and thoughts literally. That is, as literal reflection of the environmental events. So in other words, you're feeling afraid. Feeling afraid does not necessarily mean that the situation is life-threatening or your life is life-threatening. I read the words and I paraphrased the last parts and then I went, oh, welfare, life-threatening, welfare, life-threatening. Mandy trying to do things fast. Now, in practicing observing and describing, you do this exercise. Imagine that your mind is a conveyor belt and that the thoughts and or feelings are coming down that belt. Your job is to sort out what comes down the belt into named categories. For example, you could have used a box for thoughts of any sort, one box for sensation in your body, and one box for urges to do something. Thus, you are applying words, representations to thought, sensation, and urges. Expressing without words the relationship between the situation, the skill, and the result. Word, focus, thoughts.
Mhm.
In other words, work on describing. And now Maddie goes to the last page. Oh, it was right there. Silly girl. Tricks are for kids. I didn't write. See ya? That's what I didn't. I didn't write to tell me to go to this side.
That's all right. We talked a lot today.
Yeah.
Me and Mandy.
Yes.
Before you guys even came on.
Yeah. Their life is always busy, guys.
Mhm.
Pastor Gigi and I do a lot of things together, and when we don't get to see each other because life gets busy, and this is the first day of the week we get to talk to each other, there's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, now we're at participating. So up until now, we made that space so that we could breathe. Sometimes you need to use self-soothing things in that moment.
Mhm.
Breathing. Maybe you need to touch a sensation
Mhm.
because you're not able to observe. That's why in the observing, they give you the specific example I use is touching two different temperatures of something.
Yeah, like putting your hand on
Yeah.
a cold surface.
And that is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing.
Mhm.
Hear, see, feel. But in that, it's a simple, quick one,
Mhm.
right? When and I know I'm going to share this judgment of this from when I was in taking the course. I always got caught in the judgment of, okay, why would I want to touch two different things in this moment? Why would I want to do that? And then I'd dissociate,
Mhm.
and then I'd come out with a burn.
Mhm.
Well, when I would go to therapy in DBT, we weren't allowed to work on anything until we dealt with all the things in a certain order.
Mhm.
And the first thing was behavioral things. So if you had self-harmed, you had to go and work through that before you could even move to the next thing.
Right.
And that's when you would be in, and this is why the what skills would get drilled into your head,
Mhm.
because they don't take it as a failure. They take it as an opportunity for you to look back
Mhm.
and look at the situation.
Mhm.
With reframing in mental health, it's like a broken record, guys. A broken record's a skill. I've shared it with you. Let's
Mhm.
say you're making a point, you broken record that point. You don't
Mhm.
change what it is you're saying, you use the same thing. Well, in learning your what skills in therapy, when you have a self-harm moment or you have a crisis, let's say you don't have a self-harm, while you move into things that you were challenged on. Well, it's all so that you can sit and apply these specific skills. The first two are important because you can't participate if you don't know what you're participating in.
Right.
And that's essentially reframing.
Mhm.
How can you reframe something if you're having difficulty understanding why you need to reframe?
Mhm.
And that's why we've gone so detailed into this. So now we're at participation. We're doing pretty good.
Mhm.
I figure we should be done in the next, I'll be done in the next 4 minutes, I figure. So participation, it's the third of the what skills. Enter into your experiences wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
So up until now, you're just sitting on the outside observing and describing it.
Yeah.
Now participation, see how that just changed? Now do you know why I've spent so much time getting you into the other skills before I put you here? Because it's like, essentially, you're not standing on the fence anymore, guys. You're in, take it as the fire or the nice warm bathtub, depends on what this experience you're using the skill in. Right? You don't always have to use it in a negative. Again, this is a core skill you use day to day. Everything you do, you use these three things.
Right.
Participating. Enter into your experience wholeheartedly. Let yourself get involved in the moment, letting go of the ruminating and the self-consciousness. Ooh.
That can be tough.
Okay, well then go start at 1 again.
Mhm. True.
The second you judge,
Yep.
participation does not work. Go back to step 1.
Yep.
You see how fast?
See how easy that can.
Pastor Gigi literally just like that.
Mhm.
As
I
soon
judged
as
it.
you judged it. Open-mindedness is the key to getting healthy, guys.
Mhm.
I don't like saying it like that because you're like, well, open-mindedness, that's hard. Well, if you're a shut-in or someone that's afraid to go out, yeah, that's really hard
Mhm.
because you're actually physically afraid to go out. Your body freezes, maybe your brain doesn't work. I recognize that that's the challenge.
Mhm.
And work on these skills at home.
Yeah.
Work on these skills just stepping outside your door.
Mhm.
Now, if that's where you are in your walk in your mental health, please know you do everything in small steps.
Yeah.
And really, to be honest, if you don't have help, I recommend reaching for supports, because these are some hard skills that have taken me personally. I can say I'm 45. I've worked on these skills since I was 27. They put me in the program 6 months after I had my mental breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
I was in it very quick. I still apply these skills to this day. I had a mental health day yesterday. It's okay. I did a combination of all my skills. I used my supports.
Mm-hmm.
I prayed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I turtled. I actually used a skill and allowed myself, because I had pushed out so much emotion in such a small amount of time, that I laid down at 11:15 in the morning and I woke up at 5:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up once.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to throw this out here because we're almost specifically done with this, but Mandy said something. She said she allowed herself. You guys need to allow yourself to have
You have
the
to.
time that you need. Even if it's only 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's all you need is 5 minutes. Then allow yourself the 5 minutes. If you need a day, then you need to take a day. Like I said yesterday, I had to take a day off of work. I don't like to do that. I will push myself till I'm almost dead.
Mm-hmm.
But God was like, no, honey, you need the day. So he had to force it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we need to be able to rely on him to do those things, to let us, to help us to get there.
And these skills give you the mind space to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I am going to drill this from here on in.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to talk about what skills every day, because we do all the time, guys. You don't even realize how you use the first two skills all the time. Everything you do.
Yeah.
The participation is actually, it's anticlimactic almost, because the most of the work's done in the first two steps.
Yeah.
So let's keep going with participation. So no separation of self from ongoing events or interactions. Become one with your experience, completely forgetting yourself. Act intuitively from wise mind. So that's you're grounded. You're doing things in your wise mind. All your senses are going to it. Do just what is needed. Just underline that like 50 million times. Just, not more, not less. Just do just what is needed in a situation. A skillful dancer on the dance floor with the music and our partner, neither willful or sitting on our hands. So in other words, be fluid with that situation. Actively practice your skills as you learn them until they become part of you. Where you use them without self-consciousness. Practice changing harmful situations, changing our harmful reactions to situations, accepting yourself and the situation as they are. Ooh, that's hard. You judge, you go back to step one, observe.
Interesting, isn't it?
There is a whole reason I did this. Guys, I took this course, the actual sitting course. It's a 6-month in class, once a week course that you do all morning. So 4 hours. I did this course twice, because the first time my dissociation was so high, I actually couldn't grasp the core skills. I couldn't get there because I needed to learn other skills. But they knew they had to keep me active and coming in, because part of BPD is you have these isolation, you invalidate yourself, because very often you've been invalidated to the point where you self-destruct in your own conversation with yourself. On top of that, you have emotional dysregulation, which is directly to this what skill. And the reason is we've gone through so much disappointment, so much isolation, so much trauma. I'm not one to judge anybody's trauma. I can't say your trauma is different than mine, that you will feel the same thing as me in the same moment.
No.
But what I do understand is that the skills that we use, although they feel stupid when they're being labeled like this, and yes, I'm saying it like that because I used to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what's the math, Pastor Gigi? 27 to 45 is
I have no idea.
30.
She's asking the worst person. for
Okay,
this.
that's 18 years, guys. 18 years of working on this skill. They put me through this course twice.
Mhm.
I share this with you because I went in judgmental and they kept pushing me to step one.
Mhm.
But in the same manner, life goes on. And I always just wanted to apply it when I was in class.
Mhm.
Well, I'm going to finish up because participation and reframing really, as I understand it, that's the last step to the first steps.
Mhm.
Because in order to reframe and move forward, you have to be able to spend time with that experience,
Mhm.
observing it.
Mhm.
Again, it's to make that quiet space for those of us that have chatter. Guys, my traits some days are very, very high. One of my big ones is my ADHD, my ability to hold a thought in one place for one moment.
Mhm.
That is my problem right now. I know I'm healed, but that I'm having that moment where I'm going and I actually have to say to people, no, you got to send it to me right away or I won't remember. And that's because I have spent the time observing myself and then describing it to myself. And with my skills, I try to apply skills that might get me out of those situations. But in observing that it continues to go on, I have to find a different way.
Mhm.
You know, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. In mental health, we sometimes get caught in it.
Mhm.
And it's not because we're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
It's because sometimes the skills that we apply in the moment aren't the correct skills.
Yeah.
So you can go back to that moment and do it again, but I recommend coming to your what skills
Mhm.
because very often that's what you need to create the space.
Yeah.
And I believe it's, you said Paul, right? We were
Mhm.
talking about Paul.
Mhm.
Paul had the ability to just sit with himself,
Mhm.
observe the situation,
Mhm.
see the negatives, see the positives, choose the positives,
Yeah.
push that positive,
Yeah.
stay in those moments.
Yeah.
Sometimes, guys, in my observation stage, because I'm in a crisis mode, I actually hold on to some feelings.
Mhm.
But I know that I'm doing that in a skill.
Mhm.
Actually, I could label that
Yeah.
skill because I'm choosing to push away another skill. So I'm pushing away one feeling and holding on to another.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm holding on to that so that I can make that mental space
Mhm.
to start observing.
Mhm. Yeah, so now, guys, we still have 2 more teachings with regards to this winning the war in your mind. So Mandy's going to be sharing these, like, we're going to just keep sharing stuff
Yep.
as they go along with these 2 more lessons that we have.
Yes.
We are like way, 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 way
Yeah,
over
we're
time.
over. I thought I was going to be 5 minutes and
It's
I went
my
over.
fault because I talk in I hear things and it's like, yeah, and then in the spiritual side of you do this. So
But
yeah.
that's the rolling.
Yeah.
That's the rolling of the spirit, the rolling of the teaching. I apologize.
Mhm.
I went over. We apologize, but this is good food, guys.
It is good. And you guys, we all need to have some skills or some things that we can hold on to that can propel us into the next place. So we want to do that. And maybe what we'll do now is, guys, we're probably going to put up the phone numbers. We're going to let it on here.
Yep.
And the information for contacting us, but we'll probably just put them on really quickly. And you guys take a screenshot if you need. The numbers are in our description, so you'll be
Yes.
able to do any of the numbers there. But I don't want to take any more of your time,
No.
so Maddie will put them up really quickly. Like, we'll put up the phone
Yeah.
numbers right now. I'm not going to call them out for you because
Yeah.
you can see them. So take a screenshot of that if you'd rather.
Yeah, this is the mental health check number. So
Yeah.
if you need to get a hold of somebody to get some help,
Then
these are
do
where
that. That's right. And
Okay.
then if you want to reach out to just Mandy and I, here's the next information. Take a screenshot of this as well. I apologize. I know that we usually read these things out to you, but today we have already kept a lot of your time, and I know that it's mostly my fault because I talk a lot. Well, it's our fault.
No,
We
we
talk
do
a
a
lot.
really good job at talking together. So,
Mhm.
okay, you can take some fault, I can take some fault, but then we got to kind of take it together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we love you guys. I'm gonna let Mandy pray to send us on out of here.
Yes. Lord, I lift up this live stream. Lord, for those that caught us live, may they be blessed with these skills. May they get
Yes.
them into them so that they can subconsciously, unconsciously, everything, they can just give it to you, and actually you can make it flow for them.
Yeah.
Lord, you know what this stuff
Thank you,
is.
Lord.
Because by observing and then describing it, we can participate because we see where our purpose is. And very often,
thank
I
you,
know for a
Lord.
fact, and Pastor Gigi know, you are there, Lord.
Yeah.
That's why we pray to you all the time.
Yeah.
You help us reframe. You help us describe. You
Mhm.
help us observe.
Hallelujah.
And in observing, we get to see how you are there with us.
That's right.
Lord, I lift up
Thank you, Lord.
everybody that gets these skills. May they even solidify that in them, whether it be on the clinical side, Lord, whether it be filled through the spirituality of you or their higher power. Lord, make these the core skills
Yes, Lord.
that make them able to reframe and win that war in our mind.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
In Jesus' name I pray.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Okay, guys. Sorry we took so long, but we love you guys and we want to give you good things.
Yes.
So, are you ready?
I am.
Live it, love it, and be it. Bye for now, guys.